Hi guys! My name is Lyra. I know I have a very melodic name. Maybe that's why my voice is so pretty. I don't know why, but guys go crazy when they hear my voice. They are ready to fulfill my every wish. By the way, I've had such a charming voice since I was born. I remember whenever I was lying in my crib crying, my father would come running at the same second. And it was strange because he was very strict with my brother. By the way, my voice had no effect on my mother at all. Yes, I didn't understand the power of my voice back then, nor did I understand the power of my voice when I was in junior high school, because at first I went to the Lyceum for girls. At the Lyceum, in addition to studying, we studied singing. Already after the first vocal lesson, the girls crowded around me and began to praise my voice. Even a strict teacher praised me. "You have a wonderful timbre. Do not give up on singing." All right, Miss Melody. I went all the way to high school. I would have stayed there if my father hadn't been offered a promotion. Our family had to move to another state. I didn't like that very much because I didn't want to leave my friends. I was also very shy, but nobody asked my opinion. The very next day after I moved, I was on my way to school, then stopped at the board. All the students in the class were staring at me. The teacher put her hand on my shoulder. "Meet your new classmate, Lyra." I was embarrassed and a blush broke out on my face. Some guy shouted with a sneer, "Hey, Matthew, she can talk." After that, he winked at some guy with a mocking wink too. Everyone in the class started laughing, except for Matthew, who was looking at me curiously. Because of my shyness, I, in a low voice, said, "No, I can." After I opened my mouth, the situation has changed dramatically. One guy stood up for me. "Shut up, Billy. Just listen to her voice." Billy changed his face abruptly too and was already running towards me. He took me by the elbow and then very kindly escorted me to an empty desk. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Here, sit here." He pointed to the desk next to him. I sat down at the desk and looked around. All the guys were looking at me with amorous eyes. The boys grabbed their pens and started writing down the topic in their notebooks. As soon as the teacher turned to the board again, I was bombarded on all sides with notes. The teacher saw the mountain of notes and a confused me. She rolled her eyes and continued to explain something. I began to wonder what was in these notes, and I began to unwrap one after another. They all said something like, "Lyra, let's be friends." "How about a date or a movie?" There were bolder ones. "I love you," and "let's run away somewhere." I found that very strange and even frightening. By the way, the girls were not impressed by me. On the contrary, they stared at me in indignation. Probably they never got so much attention from guys. By the way, I never got a note from the mysterious Matthew. I was walking down the hall to another classroom when I heard suspicious whispering behind me. I turned around to find out what was causing it. Imagine my shock when I saw all the guys in my class. They were sneaking up behind me like some kind of ninja. It really freaked me out. So I stomped my foot and shouted at them, "What do you want from me?" The guys looked at each other but didn't say anything. Billy stepped forward. "What do you want?" I answered without thinking, hoping he'd back off. "3 scoops of strawberry ice cream." Billy didn't say anything to me. Instead, he ran off somewhere. Then Kevin turned to me. "Anything else?" I answered him jokingly, "Well, maybe a fan? It's really hot." Kevin disappeared after Billy. And then I wondered what guys would do to please me. I decided to do a little test. I asked the guys to do a command at the same time. "Sit down." All the guys sat down. A voice. All the guys started barking like dogs. This really made me laugh and surprised me. They seemed really ready to do whatever I ordered. Soon, I was sitting at my desk. I had strawberry ice cream melting in my hand, and there was a fan on the side blowing a cool breeze at me. I was surrounded by guys handing me various trinkets and presents. As soon as the bell rang, the boys took their seats at their desks, and I ate ice cream contentedly. I think I was getting into it. From that moment, I was never alone. Every day, I went to a cafe or a movie at some guy's expense. Kevin took me to the movies one day. He bought 2 tickets, but I didn't want to go with him. Standing at the entrance to the cinema, I told him, "Kevin, I want to go alone, but I bought 2 tickets." "Don't worry, I'll tell you everything later." Kevin was happy to know he could hear my voice. He was happy, even when I spoiled the whole ending for him. And then he snapped his fingers and said, "I'm an Iron Man." Kevin was jumping beside me like a little boy listening to the retelling of the movie. Is my voice really that beautiful? In the hallway of the school, I ran into Matthew. He was sticking some kind of poster on the wall. Matthew smiled and waved at me. I did the same in return. Then he left without speaking to me. I still couldn't figure out his secret. The poster said that there was a talent contest at school. I stood by the poster, sipping my juice. Behind me was a crowd of guys. I turned to Billy, who was standing next to me, and I patted him on the cheek like a puppy. "Do you think I should participate?" "Of course you should." All the guys started screaming that I had to share my voice with the others. I put my name on the list of contestants. In the evening, in my bedroom, I rehearsed a song for the contest. I had speakers and a microphone at home that my parents had given me. Therefore, the song was heard all over the place. When I finished singing, I heard voices from the street. Through the open window in my room, the bouquets flew in and fell right to the floor. I even caught one. I looked out the window and was surprised, to say the least. In front of my house, the neighborhood boys had gathered, my classmates among them. They were shouting, "Bravo! Encore!" applauding nonstop. I probably should have closed the window before the rehearsal started. People demanded that I sing again. It pissed me off that I couldn't even stay at home alone. I shouted irritably, "Come to the concert tomorrow!" and slammed the window loudly. I went to bed very angry. This popularity was violating my personal space. The time for the concert came very quickly. I stood in the backstage and was shaking a little with excitement. The announcer announced the next contestant, me. I exhaled and clenched my hands into fists. I walked to the middle of the stage to the microphone stand. The beam of the spotlight fell on me. There were so many people sitting in the audience, it made me even more nervous. But I wasn't scared when I started singing. I gave myself over to the music and enjoyed it completely, not thinking about anything. I could see that the audience, especially the guys, were fascinated by my song. When I finished singing, the guys stood up and clapped. They demanded for me to sing something else. It wasn't hard for me, so I sang one more song. True, the guys didn't calm down. They demanded for me to sing for them without stopping. I was in pain. My lungs and throat were literally burning. And it finally dawned on me. They didn't like me at all, just my voice. When I realized that, I cried. But the audience didn't care. They wanted to hear my songs. That's when I saw Matthew, who was an assistant on stage, started closing the curtain. He led me backstage, and then he sat me down on a chair. I tried to thank him, but I was so tired I couldn't say a word. Matthew leaned towards me and put his finger on my lips, a sign that meant be quiet. But I think what he meant was that he understood me without words. Matthew was the only one who didn't make me sing or say anything. That's probably why I liked him so much. The next day at school, I was surrounded by guys again. It wasn't just my classmates who were there now, but guys from all of the other schools. I couldn't take a step without them. They demanded for me to sing to them. And I, in turn, just wanted them to leave me alone. But it wasn't that easy. A couple of times, I even had to hide from my fans in my locker. Even when I was sitting in the dining room chewing my lunch, guys would sit around me and wait for me to say something. They were literally looking into my mouth as I chewed my broccoli. It was terribly annoying. Once, I sat in the ladies' room for a few classes just so I wouldn't have to see their ugly faces. I thought they had already gone home, so I bravely opened the door. But then, I got a real shock when I realized that they hadn't gone anywhere. After a long wait, they became even more insistent. They started shouting together, "Song! Song!" The guys looked like zombies who wanted to eat me. It really scared me, so I decided to flee from them. I ran for a long time down the hallway until I finally saw the library ahead. I ran like a bullet inside. I sat down at the first desk I saw. Behind me, a crowd of guys appeared in the doorway. They kept shouting, "Song! Song!" The tall figure of the librarian appeared in front of them. "Silence!" The boys already continued to demand in a half-whisper. "A song! A song!" The librarian looked at them menacingly. After that, the boys left the reading room in the same cheering sound. I sighed with relief. Only now did I see that Matthew was sitting right in front of me. He didn't see me, so I called out to him. "Hi!" The librarian knocked on his chair. That's when I realized I made a mistake. Matthew didn't hear me and continued reading the book. So I wrote him a note. I crumpled it up, took aim, and threw it. The note hit him right in the head and landed on his desk. Matthew looked at me curiously. Then he unfolded the note. In it I wrote, "Why aren't you talking to me?" Matthew wrote something back. Then his note flew to me. I unwrapped it. The inscription read, "I wish I could talk to you and hear you, but I can't." I looked at him in bewilderment. Matthew smiled. He started gesturing something to me. Only now did I realize that Matthew couldn't hear me or speak. It hurt me that I'd finally met someone who liked me and not my voice. But I couldn't tell him that. But that didn't stop us. Matthew and I became friends. He even taught me sign language. After the guys found out that Matthew and I were friends, they didn't pay attention to me anymore, and it made my life so much easier. By the way, I didn't quit singing. I got into a famous talent show. I'm going to be performing my own song there very soon. I hope I don't drive the whole country crazy with my voice. What's your talent? Do you think you use it to its fullest potential? If not, maybe you should develop it. Write your answers in the comments and subscribe to our channel.